Oh, well, you are doing that.
All right. We're having a change within the police department. I've been reassigned. The SRO sergeant position has been absolved and moved to another sergeant position within the department. So I will be transitioning back to patrol. But what that means with JCPC is that Lieutenant Brian Hogan is going to be taking over as our attendee for the police department. And that should be as of the next meeting. So he's going to get started on getting all approved and whatnot. It has been an absolute honor. I hope he be careful with Angel. She's going to have you all on her.
It is good. We know each other. So.
Every committee immediately. We're already on band. But it has been an honor, and I hope to continue to be able to work with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, October 16th. It's happy birthday to Miss Angel Redmond. Thank you all for being here, either physically right now or virtually. My name is George Redmond. I am the JCPC chair. Let's first kind of do a roll call. We'll do a roll call of individuals here. I'll first start to the right, birthday girl.
Angel Redmond, Parks and Rec.
Lorraine Williams, Juvenile Justice Community Programs. I'm an area consultant.
Imogen.
Angelica.
Okay.
Angelica Tyler. I'm a public information officer with the communications team here at Buncombe County.
Anna Ledgerton, Youth Justice Manager with Buncombe County Justice Services Department, staff support for the JCPC.
I'm Rebecca Smith. I'm with Health and Human Services, the social work director there.
Beth Craft, community member. Vanta Wheeler, community member.
Craig Loveland, APD.
Brian Hogan, Asheville PD.
Jessica Stein, Aspire.
Grover Hill, Bayou.
Karen Pearson, Buncombe Alternatives, Earn and Learn, and Teen Court Programs.
Louis Lindsay with Pivot Point.
Excellent. And Hannah, do we have online virtually?
Kikima. Oh, I see you on mute. Go straight ahead.
Great morning, everyone. Kokima King, community member.
Good morning, Michael Morrison, community member.
Good morning, Shannon Martin, Buncombe County Schools Representative, Director of Student Services.
Good morning, Blanca Heredia, community health worker for UNETE.
Good morning, Jess Supik, System of Care Coordinator with VIA.
Good morning, Daisha Cheney, Fellow for Buncombe County Manager's Office and intern for Buncombe Alternatives.
Jeremy Bricker, mental health rep with Clarita.
Great, and we have one person on the phone.
That's just our transcription service.
Okay, perfect.
Hello, transcription service.
And hi.
Hi, I'm sorry. My name is Jaime. I'm working with Lindsay. So I'm volunteered with them for almost 5 years. And I got hired officially Monday. So thank you, appreciate it.
Well, welcome everyone. Let's kind of jump in. We're going to go straight to, on our agenda, we go to the JCPC membership. There are conflict of interest forms. These are standard forms to show if there's any sort of conflict of interest that need to be filled out in case we get into voting for allocations or anything of that measure. We need to know if there's any sort of conflicts to see if that's something you need to abstain from voting from. If you haven't signed a conflict of interest form, please make sure you do so today physically. And if you are virtually and haven't done so, please just let us know through chat if you haven't signed one, and we will make sure that we get one to you maybe electronically or perhaps the next go.
And if you're wondering if you've already signed one, it's time for a new fiscal year, so please sign one again. We need to do this every year for the JCPC So really appreciate it. You can take, and as you look over it, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me or George, but particularly Lorraine is also an expert there.
We have more copies.
We have more.
Are there more?
I will print more, yes, and I've sent them out virtually as well for folks online.
Thank you. We'll make sure we get all those signed and back to you, Hannah, either virtually or physically by the next meeting. Again, if you have any questions about those forms, please feel free to reach out. Pretty standard conflict of interest form. As we move through our next point on our agenda, new application review and actions that will need to be had. We did get an application from under 21.
Did, yes.
Is that Miss Eliza Jackson?
Yes, Lorraine, I'm trying to figure out if we have a quorum to do a vote. I'm gonna try to figure out that with our vacancies. Yes, we have Ms. Eliza Jackson.
And Ms. Katie Kurz from the DA's office?
Yes, and then we also had another application from a community member at large. We only have 2 vacancies right now on the JCPC. One is for the DA designee, since David Denninger has left the office, and the other is for a young person under the age of 21.
Do we have a quorum? And as Lorraine is checking to figure out if we have the right numbers to be able to vote and do this action on these new applications. Hopefully you all reviewed the application of Eliza and Katie. I think Hannah has sent that out. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to kind of voice that right now as we're getting that vote. Again, we have 2 slots that are open, the DA slot as well as an under 21.
Yeah, I think you just have a quorum. I'm counting
13?
That's what I'm counting. Double checking.
I counted 11 members. Maybe I'm.
Maybe I. No, I
Have Shannon Martin, Craig Levin, George Redmond, Rebecca Smith, Elizabeth Kraft, Angel Redmond, Jeremy Bricker, Akima King, Michael Morrison, Banta Whitner, Deja Cheney. Is there any other member that I didn't mark down?
that's. Let me just see. Who do I have?
So I think we do not have a quorum.
No, that doesn't, yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have either individual showing up a little bit later today. And if not, we will push it on to the next agenda.
Okay.
Please reach out if you haven't gotten the application for Eliza and for Katie. And we'll try to make sure that y'all have that in time to review for next meeting. All right, as we move up to the next thing, it's the JCPC program updates. We'll start with, I guess, Nete? Yes, there is a 3 to 5 minute per program sort of time frame that we want to stick to so that we don't go over. I know usually going over is our MO, so we're trying to at least stick to that time frame. If we have any additional time at the end of our program, we will kind of kick it back out to the programs to give any further update. That being said, we'll start with you, Nete. How's everything going?
So, like I said, I started on Monday. Jackie should be here, but she's
Do you want to start with maybe one of the other programs who's, if there's anyone in particular volunteering, ready to go to kick us off? Just give you a minute. Sure.
As she's writing down.
And I can pull up the, would you like the program implementation reports?
Sure. And just a note about the program reports, the programs were reporting on numbers for July through Yeah, through December through January through July, through the end of the last year for that 6 months is what they put on their report. But then verbally, of course, and in their report, in the narrative, they were able to, and some of them in their financials, depending on when they pull their financials. Some don't have their first quarter yet, so they reported on last year, but.
So don't look at the reporting dates on my report there.
Things are subject to change is the caveat for all of these, due to the dates.
But the verbal update today and the narrative gives you a chance to at least sort of give anything that's newer than that, because we realize that the end of June may be sort of old news that you're able to use this money.
Everybody?
Yep.
All right. Team Court's going fabulously. Subject to change, this is an example. We had 2 new intakes take place yesterday that were successful, and on Monday we held Team Court and we had 2 terminations. That one was satisfactory and one was successful. Jamie wanted to make note in our narrative, this is in there, and I spoke with Anna in the elevator about this, and Shakitria Lindsay with Court Services. The Team Court program has 2 new referrals that have not had intake yet. One of these originated from DJJ, and it's for a youth that was previously enrolled in Emoja, and the department filed, the parent filed an ungovernable and undisciplined petition. DJJ placed the youth under a diversion contract. This is just to remind the programs, the community programs, and I believe Louie and I spoke on this as well, that with a behavioral concern prior to filing the charges, you can do a direct referral to our program rather than going through DJJ for these lower class misdemeanors. So if you want to meet later or via conversations, we can get those materials to you. But part of that is for the A1 misdemeanors offering an alternative to formal charges or from your program being terminated from a diversion. Early referrals to our program can support continued participation in your community-based programming, and it promotes the accountability through the restorative service process. So just keep that in mind, that if it falls in that category, we are welcome to work with you in that direct referral for community service through Team Court. And it gives you a chance, if you're newer to these programs, to come check out Team Court. Deja usually will be there, and we're part of the JJTC restorative program. So you get to get a little orientation to that as well for JCPC. So yeah, Team Court is doing great right now. We are both partnering with Leap Schools and Streets, which is happening this weekend. If you've never taken part, it's right here in Swannanoa. So that's happening. ACT, Asheville Community Theater in Tanglewood, we're working with those guys, keeping it in the community. Shiloh Garden Project, this was one of the influences that DJJ wanted us to take part in. Lowe's, Home Depot, and I can't remember the name of the mulch place in Arden are all working together for beautification in the Shiloh Community Garden to get ready for that this fall. And Ralphin House. So Team Court is happening, and yeah, just lots going on there. So was that my time?
Perfect.
So Earn and Learn, pretty much the same. Earn and Learn, you're going to see a drastic incline in a lot of these referrals this year, both I think for Team Court and preventative programming, like the ones that are sitting here at the table. We've already seen this where we're over, I think, maybe 50% service to date for Earn and Learn. Referrals just keep popping in. I think we have 2 new referrals as of yesterday who haven't been contacted. And we had 3 new intakes for community service this week. So you can see your snapshot is just that. And I think that's why we were encouraged to get these verbals. I know for community service and direct referrals, we're going to see right before the holiday, or we're encouraging direct referrals from the schools. mainly because we're right now hitting that 15 to 25 day, it's hard to believe, truancy mark. So we're 5 weeks into school, if you can remember from Helene, we're 5 weeks into school. And so we're hitting that mark where it gets a little tricky with truancy. So with that, both in Teen Court and Earn and Learn, one of the things we've done is partner, and we are handing out alarm clocks with our intakes for those who have truancy, just to kind of keep them, current as they finish their flash resume project with us at intake. If they're here for truancy or want to try to change that behavior for whatever reason, we are giving them these alarm clocks. And so that's just one of the little incentives we have going on. So we're working with Montfort North Star, AC Reynolds, Community High, and the folks I mentioned earlier for community service right now. So numbers are on the rise, and we've noticed a nice increase in our intakes. We're using our translation service more than anything. I'd say out of our 48 that we're serving right now, we're using our translation service weekly. So that's definitely coming up to 20% in last year. So like Lorraine said on the report, we're trying to hurry because I know Angel's birthday alarm's gonna go off. I'm the one that's the problem talking. The numbers last year that I heard in the NC data, numbers are down because of Helene. I would like to think, sure, they're down a little from Helene, but I also think because the department, the SROs and the school are now realizing that for truancy and alternative to out of school, I feel like we are being communicated with more in a direct manner. So kudos to Asheville City Schools and Shannon Martin and her team. I feel like there's a direct line of communication with our program staff now. So I really feel like that's being utilized, not to take away from Helene, but I think that we're gonna see numbers rise in community and lower in DJJ, which is what we're here for. So
yeah.
I think in the past it was misconstrued that numbers needed to be high. When I think in actuality, everyone's understood the assignment, and so we're all getting those reports direct to us. So, any questions on either of the restorative programs?
I have one. When you said they're successful, what does that look like?
Successful?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in terms of Teen Court, one of the bonuses is that Earn and Learn youth can come volunteer and do community service, as can your youth, and get their hours through Teen Court. And so one of our ultimate goals is that if a child who is finishing 100 hours or restitution has a voice and feels comfortable enough filling out a volunteer application and then asking for us to come pick them up so they can now be a volunteer with our agency, which has happened with 3 of our kids that have finished our program this year, that is one snapshot of success. The other for us would be if a Teen Court volunteer, and Deja can chime in on this, but we have interns, staff, and Teen Court volunteers who may or may not have been clients of ours in the past, participate in the training of said client. And so now what you've seen is the full circle of a client who has come through, completed the program, and has been referred back to us either by a court counselor and or Deja herself, or themselves. And they have gone full circle and now a volunteer in the community. So that's a snapshot of a child coming in through our program and then becoming a volunteer. And kind of the same similar snapshot, but more preventative on the Teen Court level. So thank you for that question.
And for anybody that was taking notes, she said Montfort North Star, and we've changed 6 million times on the name of that school. We're back to William Randolph, and that's our alternative program that's on that campus at 90 Montfort. So
did you change the entrance, or can we still pick up in the front?
you can still, yeah. you're
Sounds
good.
great. I'll let Juan know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Any other questions or concerns, anything online regarding Teen Courts or Earn and Learn? Thank you, Karen. As always, team court's doing what they need to be doing. Getting referrals directly from schools. This is, again, the goal of JCPC. It does not have to go through DJJ to get these referrals except for team court, or excuse me, earn and learn, which is obviously part of the adjudication process. But everything looks to be trending in the right direction. So thanks for that positive report. It's a good way to start our programs. As we move next, pivot point, Louis?
Yes, hello, good morning, everybody. So in terms of, I'll break it down for prevention and diversion so we can keep those two separated. In terms of our prevention programming, we got community high school off the ground on September 18th, started out really strong with max of 10 participants. And we have continued, I think we're on our fourth or fifth week now into the school year. So we were able to get their program running and off the ground the second week into school, which is a notable difference from last year. Hurricane was also a factor in that as well. But I also do think that my position as the community liaison has really tremendously helped bridge the gap in the onboarding process between our relationships with the teachers, but also the relationships with the parents and the participants, physically being able to be that person that goes into the school, sits with the student at lunch to get the ISP completed, and then get the rest of the paperwork sent over to the guardian has really made a difference with the onboarding process for the prevention side of things. Similarly, for AC Reynolds, we got that program off the ground on September 25th, going strong with 9 participants. And that is almost at our max as well. So it's a really great start for them. In terms of similar experience at AC Reynolds with being able to go into the school and connect with the participants, and then improving the onboarding process with the ability to just have that outreach and availability to the guardian so that we can get the onboarding paperwork completed and there's no question marks on the start date of that program. Community high school, we've noticed a little bit of, kids are joining the program and then they've started a job and now they have to work on the day of the outing. So in that unique, experience that does come up, maybe those kids have spent 3 weeks with us and then, they're no longer available. But then because of my position again, I'm able to get back into that school and find someone else to fill that spot. So it's not just like a loss, completely. So that's something that we're navigating and similar to last year, but I think that it's more easily navigated now with my position available. One of the challenges that we continue to see is that, with attendance, with illness and just a lack of a regular attendance at school, that can sometimes affect program attendance. If they're not at school when we come to pick up for the after school program, then they don't, come out with us because they're not in school. But we continue to keep tabs on kind of what the reason is so that we can better understand what position they are in. And if it's an outreach effort that we can, again, myself, go in and meet with the student and just check in and see what's going on here, and kind of build that relationship and that rapport to continue to hope that they come out with us. We also have a partnership with the YMCA in McDowell County on Mondays where we started off with 3, but now grown to 4 participants. That is a partnership where we drive out and we meet the Y at a location out in McDowell County, and we join the Y on their outing. And they are in charge of the transportation and the participant and student base for that outing, and it's really truly a partnership that we started last year after the hurricane. It looks a lot different this year. It's way more organized this year with the way that we are handling that, and the numbers are different as well. Does anybody have any immediate questions for the prevention side of things?
Just community high school and Reynolds are the only ones right now.
That's correct.
Okay. Has there been discussions broadening that to other schools within the county?
Yes, absolutely. We have continued to look into also looking into Asheville City schools as well, and that is a partnership that we are continuing to navigate early on. I do know that there is a possibility that we may even consider adding an additional day for community high school because we do have a higher attendance rate or maybe higher vulnerability rate at that school. So those have definitely been topics of discussion. Potential.
Has there been roadblocks with actual city schools? Are you finding?
I believe it's more of we attempt to get connected and then things get really crazy on schedules and it's very hard to come together. But it is not to say that it's not in the works and something that we are actively pursuing.
That was very nice for you to say it that way. We'll chat after.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Well, did you see how he was looking at?
I know. He does that on his way out.
Diversion, is that okay for now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So diversion, we've not had as many referrals for diversion as we have for prevention. Again, our prevention referrals are coming from the teachers, almost 100% of the time. The referrals for our DJJ right now, we have one referral from the court counselor, one from an SRO, and maybe and one from Mr. Grover over here, actually. So we have 3 participants currently who started on October 11th for our Saturday programming. We are open, we want to build that group. We want that group to grow. We are happy to have the 3 participants and be able to offer them that opportunity to get started sooner rather than later, but we also really would like that group to grow. Something to note too about the Saturday programming for diversion is that in order to, again, bridge the gap of that waiting period for people who may get referred to us, we have decided to make it a co-ed group so that we can serve more, help more, and not have to put anyone on a waiting list. That's how we do our prevention program as well. So it's not anything outside of what our staff can handle. It's what we do anyway, and we felt that we would be able to reach more people if we were able to bridge that gap. We just have limited referrals so far for the DJJ, so we really do want to continue building those relationships that can help us increase those referrals. And to see them coming from new places, though, getting one from an SRO and then also getting one from Grover, that was very neat to see, and we are absolutely open to that. We can also get referrals for that side of things from teachers. That was a good question from Ms. Pickens at Community High School. Can I make a referral for the Saturday program? Yes. Yes, you absolutely can. We also do currently have one participant who is in prevention but has moved to the DJJ side of things, so we're in the process of transitioning that participant over. I feel like I was talking really fast.
No, you did well.
Okay.
Yeah, when her head's nodding, yes, I think
Okay.
you're in good.
Okay, great.
Saturday programming, is that 8 weeks?
It's still designed to be the 10 week.
Okay.
And some people stay longer. If if they're required to do the 10 weeks, then that's that. And some people will opt in to stay longer. And if it is not a requirement for them to fulfill the 10 weeks, they might drop out sooner. But usually for Saturday, it is a requirement to fulfill the 10 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions online or here presently for Pivot Point?
Real quick. I would love to see that program drop down to middle schoolers because they are getting a lot more referrals and behaviors and stuff. So I want to try to make that help those before they get to high school and they're already about ready to drop out of school and not be where they are there. So is there any idea on how y'all can start doing that in the middle schools?
I don't have a super clear answer for that right now, but I can absolutely get together with the folks that work over me. May have a better answer for you and update you when I do have a better answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Just about the numbers, that's why I'm looking. Yeah.
It makes sense. And when you say that too, for me, that's like, oh, prevention, you know, like let's prevent it before it gets to the point of, it's really hard to come back from that now.
Hormones or something.
It's good to see that there's a variety of referrals, at least for the diversion. Obviously, we want the numbers to increase. So we'll make sure that to at least endorse the sheriff's office, SROs, and I'm sure with the PD to try to get those in. It's beautiful fall weather here in Asheville, so this is Pivot Point's golden era right here. So it'd be important for the kids to kind of get out and about before it gets a bit too cold. So we'll see if we can kind of push that here in this next couple of weeks to see if any of those referrals, and we'll try to spread the word that teachers can also refer from schools. So Shannon, if you're online and hear that, please spread the word within Buncombe County Schools as the teachers can refer directly to Pivot Point for that diversion program.
We really try to have our teachers connect with our counselors just to make sure that we're getting that initial parent component. I really appreciate the outreach in the schools. We still have to be cautious about direct outreach to students before we've made at least an initial contact with teachers, but I will definitely push that back out to our counselors and our administrators and make sure that they are refreshing our teachers to think about students and make sure that they're getting referred, because we really are very grateful for Pivot Point's work, both with our students at Reynolds High School and really a community that's been very impactful.
Thank you, Shannon. All right. Thank you, Louis.
Thank you.
Next, let's go with Aspire.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm up here so I can see y'all. So when I yeah, thank you.
Is there a link from there? Is it music?
No, that's separate on your other tab.
Okay, great, yeah.
Okay. So for kids at work, so for my reporting period, just so you know, I guess I was confused by that form. So, because it said year to date, so I put the numbers year to date, you know, knowing that I was including the second half of the year. So that's how my report was done, so just so you guys know that. You know, for the Kids at Work program, we were fortunate after, you know, Hurricane Helene, we had to get another location. So we did have another location for a period of time. And then once UNCA was opened back up, then we could go back in there, and then we resumed services at our usual location. And the kids got the opportunity to be involved in several community and catering events. So one nice thing about the partnership with UNCA is we're stationed there at the Sherrill Center, the Health and Wellness Department. And so the Health and Wellness Department sometimes hires our kids to do catering events for their special events. You know, one of those was like a graduation event for some of their students. And so the kids got to plan the menu, making sure that it was healthful, right? Because that's extremely important when you're catering an event for health and wellness. You have to make sure that it's very healthy food that you're providing, and catering to any of those, you know, special dietary needs that someone might have. So the kids got to plan that meal and deliver that and execute that meal. They've also had they've been invited. We were hired by United Way at Intermediate to do one of the community events, the open houses for the parents to come. There was like over 300 people there, and our kids had 6 different tables and stations where they got to talk about the food that they created. The theme for that was around the world. So they had food represented from many different places from around the world and different cultures. And the kids talked about the food, the ingredients in it, and all those things. And they really enjoyed themselves. They really had a great time. And it was a great way for them to be in the public eye in a positive way and, you know, take pride in something that they've done. So that's kids at work. With kids at work, we exceeded all of our measurable objectives with the exception of one, and it's the first time that we hadn't met this one. And that's that not all of our students that started the program completed the program. And the reason for that was mainly because of aftermath of Hurricane Helene, some of the families having to relocate, move around, family hardships, moving out, moving back in, and just all of that that so many of us have experienced maybe ourselves. With the Connection program, we had a late start to that program, as you all know. We had difficulties with contractors in the first part of the year, but we did finally resolve that by just directly hiring instructors ourselves and supervising that program. I did have to consult with some other experts in the field to help me make those hires, but that definitely paid off. And so we've been consistently operating since the summer, and the kids have really been enjoying the program. Over the summer, we partnered with Emoja, and that has been a wonderful partnership that extends now into the fall. And those students, they got to do a PSA. They did a PSA, but I am not able to share that one today because I don't have all the releases back yet. I was trying to get those, but I'm still a few shy. But when I do get all those releases back, I will share the PSA that's created this summer. I do have something else to share though with the Connection program. So after the PSA project, the students started to, well, kind of simultaneously, they were spending time laying tracks and creating their own beats and songs. And then we have a like a sound bank where there's some voice samples that you can pull in to lay into your song, and the kids were learning about how to do that. And then the kids, we went through a writing process with them where they thought about, different experiences that they've had, difficulties, challenges, happy moments, any of that. And we brought that all into, discussion. We kind of, I'm a counselor, so maybe I defaulted to that, but I kind of led like a group, talking about some of our experiences. And then from there, we debriefed into songwriting. And then we guided them in terms of structure. And then they laid that recording track over their lyrics to the beat of the song. And so I'm going to share with you one of the students' songs. And so he created every aspect of this, pulling it in that way. So he made the beats, and he brought in some voice samples that were, you don't have like royalty licensing fees or anything that you can pull in. And then he wrote his own lyrics. He's rapping his own lyrics and then putting that to the music. And one thing I will share about this particular student is when he came into the class, he was very guarded and didn't share a lot at first. And when we did the writing assignment, he was kind of like this with his paper, like when he was working on his lyrics. And at first he wasn't sure that he wanted to share it with anyone. And so he kind of was like, just you guys, just the instructors. But over time, he's become comfortable and he's still more confident in what he's created. He now has shared it with his parents. And we called him and asked him if we could share it here, and he said yes. So this is really notable and beautiful, and I'm happy to share his work. And there's a little clip here about,
Are your speakers on? They were for a second, and then I turned them off.
And this is just our music and audio instructor just kind of breaking down. This is how we work on the technical side of the beats and the music structure. So I have a little clip of that, and then we'll transition into.
You can turn your speakers on.
Turn my speakers on. Sure.
This is tricky. Okay. So the speakers are off here.
They're on there or off here?
They're off.
And as she's fixing that, do we have, does Aspire have, obviously a page? It seems like all this United Way, all this work is coming from Connections, all these things photos, things like that. I'm sure it would be amazing, obviously seeing these individuals in hats, what they're displaying. I immediately think all these shows that have these cooking things, all this sort of things. Do y'all get releases and all that kind of stuff to be able to capture those images? And if so, is there a place that the community can look at that and see that?
Yeah. So JCPC policy says that you have to have a release for every instance that you are going to do the thing. So yes, we do have a general release at the beginning that just talks about can we capture photo, video, voice, and they sign off on that. But whenever we're going to put it on a website or present it in a meeting, we have to have a release in place for that event. Yeah, so it does make it a little bit more, laborious to get all those in place. But as we do, we are putting a focus and emphasis on doing that, and so as we can, provide that and then, work with our website person to post it, then we can make that available. So I'll be sure to let you know as that comes about.
And is there ways where if people are wanting to hire, it sounds like a catering event,
Yes.
anything like that? It sounds like outside of UNCA or United Way, if the community would like to utilize this, is there something on the website or anything where we can
Yes.
put in a ticket for
Yeah, there
or
is.
something of that nature?
There is. So there is a catering form, and I can make sure that I give the link to Hannah. You just fill that out. It's just catering request form with the details that we need, and then we can follow up with you about it.
I know, I was thinking.
We're gonna try one more thing.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, unfortunately, this room is not set up for the best audio quality, like downstairs with HDMI. So we'll try one more thing, and if not, Hannah might be able to share the link after the meeting.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Multiple, meaning two. So 2 channels instead of 1. So what we can do is turn this mono track into stereo, true stereo, manually.
Anyone can switch at any time, change on you, play with your mind. So you can trust is rare to find. I found mine, better watch me make the change on the foot of a dime. Long as I got myself, I'll be fine. No, it don't rain forever, the sun gon' shine. At the present time.
I don't feel the same way. All the toxic things you say, stuck in my mind on replay. Now you're the one left out to blame.
Was that the end, or did I?
Yeah,
that was
okay. That was the end. All right. Well, any other questions you guys have
Did you turn the
about
microphone back on for them? Okay.
about about either program or?
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, hopefully, maybe we can share it again, along with the PSA.
I think if it's something that we can talk more about, both sharing how to, like George was asking, like more photos and how to share the catering information, but also if it's something he's interested in sharing more widely, we absolutely could, Angela, because it could be shared as wide as Buncombe County if you wanted to. Yeah. So
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And Hannah, is there anything can we get that link?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll share the link with everybody afterwards. Thank you, Kim. Yeah.
Oh, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. Next, the Mojo.
Hi, my name is Natura Urban. I'm fairly new. I'm literally like almost a month in. But it's been exciting. I'm really eager to learn and get all of this stuff down pat. I'm eager to go into the schools and trying to figure out where I'm needed. Recently, as far as like success story goes, like I've just kind of been sitting around and listening and learning and watching, to kind of see how everything goes and works. But I know that we did have a kid who was able to re-enter back in school, about last month. And then when midterms came out, he was like straight A's. So we were really excited about that. Again, I'm just here to learn and listen. I'm excited. And
Thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to hear that they're partnering again. I think we've heard it at one of our other programs with Aspire and Moja, and our programs partnering up is a wonderful sign, especially with the point blank say. It's wonderful to hear that they're looking at other resources and combining and helping share the services that they have. Yes.
Just a referral process for both programs, and how would we do that if we have family we're working with and we think the program will be well? How do I do the referral process?
We have that. Is that the standard referral that VIA can use?
We've got the contact information for all the programs that in our youth resource guide, and we can kind of reshare that. And also on our JCPC website, we've got those all listed. So I can share that back out with folks. But I'm not sure for the universal referral form if that's something that y'all want to start using more, that you would recommend they use for community referrals.
The universal referral form, sometimes programs will have their own referral form, or sometimes they'll use the universal referral form. If they have their own and that they've developed, you just have to make sure that everything that's on the universal referral form is on their form. So, but you could also use that. So I would just reach out to each program, but there's also a copy of the universal referral form that you're welcome to, that you're welcome to use.
It would have language about like juvenile court on it, right?
Yeah.
So it would.
Yeah, there are pieces of it that community referrals won't fill out, like Yahtzee scores and things like that. There are pieces, but the community parts. And then most programs do have like their own referral form in addition to that for community referrals. But that will have all the reasons you're referring them and things like that.
Thank you.
And we can let you know, our programs only use BJJ's referral form. So try to keep it simple.
Yeah, so I have tried some referrals, refer some of the families to some programs, and have been called back, or it's just hard to contact. I like having a contact person where I'm calling like,
Yeah.
I got one thing,
Speak to someone.
Yes. Instead of having the form, and because we get a lot of them, sometimes I call back, so that's why. So my contact people, right?
I mean, that cannot be
And that's what
JCPC funded programs that wouldn't call you back. That would be outside of those funded programs.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not that you it's outside. Yeah. It's like when invited me to a referral, trying to get contact with someone, and they're just having trouble with our care managers, trying to look for resources and supports, and we just have trouble contacting these programs and getting called back, or getting them into these programs.
Yeah. So the lost in translation referral. Yeah. Does the justice referral form that we have all of our programs, does that have a contact person for each one of those programs?
The youth resource guide does.
Resource guide?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just give you my people.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll make sure that you get all the ones here, all those contacts and numbers, so that you can have someone to actually speak to.
I love that. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we've done a one pager in the past that we can update as well.
Would you be that person for Umoja? Just because I feel like if the form has Michael Hayes and all the hats he wears, it may be easier to make
That's
sure
the name
you
that's
get
always on the
that.
emoji.
Yes.
And he tried to do that, and I talked to him a few times, but and takes it off this or whatever, but it's just still a process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the role you're gonna be serving with the, perfect.
Yes, that's good.
Any other questions or concerns? Excuse me, let me make sure I'm not spitting out any muffin while I'm talking. It's great to hear from all the programs. Oh. that's right.
But I can
Okay.
say on the Zoom meeting,
It's-
so she might be able to give you more details about the program.
Okay.
Blanca, I don't know if you are able to unmute and share just a brief update on how things are going with Unite.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we are working with our mentor clubs in all 5 middle schools. We are serving about 130 students. And right now we started our Manos Club that has 32 students, and we pick those kids up from Erwin High and we take them to our location, and then we get there and we have a free time till 5, and then we have dinner, and then we have academic from 6 to 8, and that's what we're doing, working with our mostly of all middle schools and with Erwin High.
Good. Bianca, you said all middle schools?
Well, we're working in 5 right now. We have Reynolds, we have North Buncombe, we have Owens, we have Erwin Middle, and we're working with Inca Intermedia.
Nice. And did you say Manos program?
Yes, for Manos program is for high schoolers. What we do is, like I mentioned, we pick them up and we take them to our location. And then when we get there, we give them like an hour of social time for them to talk and, enjoy a little bit. And then after that, we serve their dinner. And then we have like 10 tutors coming over and helping us tutor them for 2 hours. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. And Jaime is there with you guys, and he's one of our new connectors that's gonna start working with us as well with our youth.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick, guys. To be honest, I was the type of guy who was getting involved in fights when I was in high school. Yeah, I was really problematic. I mean, you can see my scars in my hands are just completely full of scares. And I think that Mango programs is really good. It actually helped me a lot to put my life together, to put my emotions together, because it was a lot of things going on inside me, and I didn't know that. So because of Manos, I was able to go to college, afford a house, and actually become a CNC engineer. So I did that for like 5 years, and I stayed with Manos, trying to pay back a little bit what they did for me, because it's great to help the community. And last one, I took the decision to give up my job and start working with Manos. I know it's a little less what I was making, but to be honest, the joy to work with these guys, the joy to actually help the community, it's amazing. I feel like this is really important, especially because the Jones of today are the future of tomorrow. So we really need to take care of these guys that need help and help them as much as we can, of course.
Thank you for that. I'm glad it came full circle for you in your background. Yeah. Any other questions, concerns for Bianca and Nete?
No, everything's good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Again, it's a great day to be able to be here in these board meetings and to hear from the programs, the impact they're having with the kids. I would say, honestly, I would like to be able to see, it makes me think when I'm back in the high school or stuff, some sort of rally or something like that where you can get all these programs in front of these kids at one time. I feel like if they saw connections, many of them would be flying towards that for sure. Or the kids at work, culinary, like it just seems like, how can we get these programs in front of these kids and not in a sort of way where it's kind of DJJ or anything of that nature where it's kind of crowded in there, but more of just resources for these kids. These are avenues for them to be able to express their art, their skill, their talent, as opposed to it kind of being associated with the criminal justice system, things like that. because I know I only think of rallies and things like that, because they're all in the gym and you can kind of hear from each program, but hearing about Pivot Point, hearing about Tinkle, all these things, it seems like if we can garner their interest and have them in one place and have them all speak about these programs and testimonials and things like that, we might be able to reach a bigger audience and grab little nuggets here and there from individuals that we may not get to based on direct referrals from school counselors, things like that. I just say that because I would have been extremely interested in hearing and seeing all of these programs had it been presented to me kind of in a sort of atmosphere where it's, I guess, more positive. So
we created like an award ceremony at the end of the school year, and each of the programs have like, that one person that they're highlighting, and they get up and speak about it, but the whole time, it's highlights on all the programs, and it's catered by the Aspire group. We had music selections from this group, and I don't know, just something to take the whole like restorative justice umbrella off of it and more of like a community feel, so that when kids are referred to it, they don't look at it as like, I've got to do this so I stay out of trouble, but this is another club to join. I don't know. Maybe that's something we can kind of change up how we do JCPC with the end of year.
Like I get to do it instead of I gotta do it.
Yes, more of a prevention reaction, just more of the initiation of them wanting to do it.
And you can probably partner with someone who's already doing a big program towards the end of the year, because they always having something at the right in Pack Square, and celebrating what they're doing, having a table showing what JCPC is doing, in the community, because maybe they don't know, but if you have a table that is saying, with pamphlets and one pages and everything, then they will see, and then that would be a resource. We have a resource fair, like one that we have at AB Tech next week or something like that. If you have a table there and you just present what you're doing in the community.
One of the goals of the JCPC is to really share out the importance of this work and lift up, the good things that are happening as well. And perhaps especially if the allocations committee doesn't need to allocate funding this year, since it's on a 2-year cycle, maybe some folks would have some energy for kind of thinking through event planning. And I do know that, end of year, there's lots of things coming together. I know that folks with United Way and United for Youth and other partners have talked about, trying to pull folks together to host like youth summit type of events to really lift up youth-led work, especially because I know a lot of times when we do have tabling, we have a lot of, the organizations that support youth, but I think I'm really hearing like the ability to lift up the youth leadership and the youth work.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, George, we travel in a lot of circles together, and there's no shortage of community programming here. So the issue that we have come, at least with Asheville City Schools, and trying to get some different organizations, JCPC funded organizations, is that there's other programs that are also being provided and opportunities. And so we need to try to get to a point where, hey, these are JCPC funded programming. They're funded because of the great work they're doing. Not that the other organizations aren't. I'm not saying that, but they're in the room because of the great work they're doing. And so we need to somehow make sure that they understand, hey, not only is this a great community programming, but they're so good that they're following all these rules and regulations that they have to in order to become funded by JCPC, which means they're almost above and beyond. They're doing all of those things that other folks aren't doing to be able to get the funding. And so however that looks, it's going to be, be mildly difficult to say, hey, there's other programmings can't be here, but we need to champion these folks that are in here doing the work.
That I might push back on that and suggest that we want to increase the collaboration and referrals between JCPC programs and the other community
Sure,
partners. So that like the level of like support that y'all are providing for each other is so beautiful. And the more that we can increase the sense of community programs partnering to support our young people and help break down some of the silos that I do feel like sometimes our community programs get stuck in. I think that that's the better outcomes for the young people. So I might offer both and, you know, like lift up the amazing work of our JCPC programs, but the more that y'all are collaborating, the better the outcomes for young people. And I think that that whole approach can really expand.
So have a resource fair that do it, you know, and get some tables and call all of those people and say, we're doing this. We need your support. This is resources for the community. And this is when we want to do it. We're going to do this. And, you know, we want our parents to know that this is out there for their kids so they're not sweating like in court all the time, to schools all the time. And they said they feel lost. They come and there's a resource fair right there that they know that there's support for them in this community.
I would switch it up and maybe not do a resource fair, but do like an awards banquet to take it off of, like we know the programs that we have and the adults that are over it, but we need to highlight the kids.
You can highlight them at the.
If you have like an awards banquet and you invite all the other community programs, I mean, a lot of them will show up to support kids that they know that are participating. But the whole premise of it will look like it's child-centered. And I feel like that's the part, we may, at a resource fair, you may get a lot more adults and potential collaborations, and they may or may not reach out, but an awards banquet that we can even still highlight helps bring a kid like empowerment for completing a program. And it takes like the stigma out of like, you know, I did this so I'd stay out of trouble. And it showed the highlights of like progressing and being a part of community. And it would just be so child focused that it would make sense to have, you know, people would want a partnership with it. That if we did it in a different kind of.
So I'm hearing a lot of momentum. I do want to keep an eye on our time, and I do know that Angel, if all our programs continue to do well, Angel and her allocations committee may have the time and energy to shift focus. So
you know, because I don't have allocations this time.
But yeah, we have 18 minutes left, and I know that Lorraine has a couple things that we need to cover.
We do. So we'll move on. We'll kind of go back to and kind of note as to the awards and anything like that, and try to get with the schools about trying to see if we can implement some of our programs on certain days in orientation and stuff. But as we go into the agenda, next we have committee updates. I know that Angie's not here regarding planning. Obviously, we talked about allocations and monitoring. Just briefly, I know that we had talked about the planning committee. A lot of that kind of, and what behind the scenes, what we're trying to do is, everyone's familiar with the red data, the racial equity data that we had. Part of the planning is to try to utilize our resources the best way we can within the community. So we're trying to figure out geographically, where are these complaints coming from? So we can center in the majority of our efforts, at least for these programs, right? Where is this coming from? We know that there's about 130 complaints, 30 of which come from the school or something. It's 100 from the community. Where in the community is it coming? Because if we know where they're going, then at that point, we can at least tell our programs, these are the areas that are hot spots. Maybe there's more of an outreach in there. Maybe there's more of a school effort, something of that nature. So behind the scenes, we're trying to look within the sheriff's office with APD to try to get those numbers off of calls of service or complaints to see if we can generate where geographically in this county the majority of our complaints are coming from juveniles. That way it can help our planning and give more recommendations to our programs. So be on the lookout for that as we get a little bit more information, hopefully by the next meeting as that goes through. Allocations is obviously, kind of spoke about. They're monitoring our programs on a 2-year cycle, so we're taking hopefully a little bit of break of having to allocate funding. However, we still be monitoring these programs throughout this year. So we'll still have all of that. I'm not sure where we stand as to who all has been voluntold or volunteered for each of these programs. So if we can briefly kind of go through any of these committees, just so we can, on the record, understand who has volunteered for this before we move on to the other updates. Lorraine, do you have those names?
Yeah, they're in I have them in my notes and also the minutes from last time. I won't go over the planning committee because you all have been meeting already. And I will just say the next meeting for the planning committee, since Andy's not here, I'll just mention it's Friday, November 7th from 11 to 12:30. And of course, it's the members of the planning committee have been Jeremy. I know Hannah's been attending. Of course, George has attended some of the meetings.
Dr. No,
Yeah,
Michael
Dr. No's
Morrison.
been there. John hasn't attended yet, but I think he is on the committee. And Angel's on the committee. She was able to come last time, but.
Great job.
And let's see, I can read let me go back to. But I just wanted to put that date out there because even if you're not on the committee, you're still welcome to come to those meetings. They're still public meetings. And then as far as for monitoring, Banta is the monitoring committee chair, as you all know. And the people that we had that had signed up, Don Johnson, Beth Kraft, Sergeant Loveland, and of course.
So we're now gonna adopt Brian.
Yes, right.
So Lieutenant Hogan, if that's something that you'd be interested in, we can,
Full disclosure.
I can talk to you more about it later and you can see.
Greg has really invested in this program, and yesterday we had a conversation, and like, he got emotional about coming off this thing. So I just haven't had a chance, but my hope is that he stays because he's so vested and he does a good job and he really wants to do this. And I think there's a way that he can still do it and transition it into his other job. So I'm here, I'm just wrapping my mind around what it is so I can communicate that up, be like, hey, this is Craig's thing. This is a really big thing. He's really important to the committee. They do a lot of good work. Why not keep him there? If he can do it, I think he can do it. Yeah. So
If we can.
if he can't and they tell me no,
Yes.
then yeah.
We need a letter of support, we need letter out with signature.
I will say I've supported the JCPC for almost 5 years now, and we did have a lot of APD officers assigned as a designee before Sergeant Loveland, and folks tend to rotate through somewhat relatively quickly. And then when Sergeant Loveland joined, he jumped in and really brought a level of partnership and commitment from APD to this work that I hadn't seen before.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
That's
We
perfect.
have his personal cell phone, that's saying a lot.
That's all that.
It took me 3 months to get it.
Listen, I'll pay everyone after, thank you.
Absolutely.
And then others that I have listed, that we have listed in the minutes of the committee were Brandon Priester and Rebecca Smith as well. So, were there any others that had mentioned that we missed last time? There were some questions that we had about that. If there was anyone else.
Does anyone want to join any Angels allocation / party planning, allocation / awards?
Santa, the birthday party.
Birthday party. Banta's
Oh,
Lynn.
Yeah, no, you got me if I'm saying it, so.
Excellent.
Thanks. Cause then it'd be Hogan.
And often, I know, with the monitoring, y'all have reached out in the past, and others who have helped in the past are also willing to help Banta. So you know the drill, and you've participated, and you know how people do rally around and
Things will
and
ramp
help.
up beginning of 1st of January.
Yeah, and I'll get with you first, and we have a pre.
Everyone still has time to obviously volunteer for any of these. Obviously, planning is already commenced. Monitoring starts off the new year, but please feel free to reach out to myself or Lorraine or Hannah if you have any interest in doing any of these, participating in any of these chairs this year. Again, allocations, maybe dealing more towards awards banquet, things like that, as opposed to making decisions for these programs. But if you have any interest in any of these, please feel free to reach out to one of us, and we'll make sure that we give you the right dates and times that you can be a part of it. As we move on next, the DJJ update. Sylvia fortunately is not here, but she did send me an email for DJJ updates, and I'll kind of go through it quickly so we can hand it over to Lorraine for the community program updates. But for DJJ, no major updates. The complaints are basically the same. There's been no increase, which is good. They are interviewing next week for a court counselor position. And then finally, they had a DPS conference in Beaufort, went well. I think Lorraine has, as well, went there and can perhaps share a little bit regarding that conference. But for all intents and purposes, everything's going well over at DJJ. So that's always good news, especially when I hear that complaints are basically the same. There's no increase. So that's right now, it looks like that things are tempering off for the schools and for the juveniles. That being said, I'll leave it next to Lorraine to kind of give an update.
All right, and I'm good. Thank you all, and I do have a few things today, so I'm gonna try to move through them. The first thing I just wanted to mention is one of the things that came up at the, well, it's been in the works for a while, but the community program section spent quite a bit of time, the area consultants did, looking at, there's going to be an upcoming pilot program that's going to eventually, there are two different software programs in juvenile justice world. One of them is NCLIs, and you all are familiar with that, especially items because you're using those. And then the JCPC chair and admin also use NC Allies, as does the county. So it's sort of multi-functioning, but the programs enter their clients in there, and it's able to pull information from there. And then on the juvenile justice side with court services, Sylvia Clement and her crew, all of the court counselors, they use NC Join, which is the database for those youth that are involved in juvenile justice. So two different systems, and one of the things that's been on the to-do list for a number of years is to see if they can connect those two systems some, and so there's going to be a pilot program that is going to start eventually to connect those with the universal referral form that we were talking about earlier. So at least for court services, they'll have the ability to pull a youth that's in their system that's involved in DJJ, and they've got the information in there, and they've got the Aussie data in there, and they'll be able to have the universal referral form kind of filled out without having to type all the data in. It will sort of auto-fill some of those pieces for the juvenile they're referring to a program. So when they're sending it over to a Tora or to Karen or to Louie, they'll be able to, or to Kim, they'll be able to fill that in directly, and then the attachments will come right directly into NC Allies, and that referral will come over. Now for community referrals, like Grover was talking about, those will still just be sent into the program. You'll do it the same way. But for those youth, that will just save a step eventually, is the hope. So one exciting piece is that Buncombe County is going to get to be one one of the pilot, it's gonna be the pilot county here in the western area of the state when we start that process. So, and, that was one thing that came up at the conference in Beaufort that we were talking about. There's been some, they were hoping to roll it out as soon as next month, but there have been some delays. And one of the delays in doing that is the way they're gonna use, the method they're gonna use to connect those two different programs right now is something that is known as the service directory. The service directory is available to the public. It's also available to court services. And so you can do a search for the service directory. It's on the DJJ website, and you can search by county for different services available statewide. It's not a perfect system. It's a little bit precise. Like, I'll give you an example. There's a program over in Haywood County that was home-based family counseling. And if you typed in home-based counseling instead, it wouldn't pull it up because the family wasn't in there. So fewer words, so there's some things like that with searching. So it's not always user-friendly, but it does have all of the JCPC programs statewide and other DJJ programs in the service directory. So you can go look for service, so parents can go online and look for services and things like that. That is gonna be the mechanism that's gonna connect the two programs for those universal referral forms coming from one place to the other. And right now, there's a lot of work to be done, especially with multi-county programs, so it's a little bit, so it's gonna be delayed starting, but Buncombe doesn't have any multi-county programs, so that's one reason y'all are gonna get to be the pilot when that starts. So that was one thing that came out of the conference, and then a lot of other good information, good pieces. And updates. I will say that one update for facilities is for the youth development, for the YDCs, the youth development centers. They've really combined some of the different departments, and Peter Coons, who's now the director over facilities, now that Angela Smith has retired. He has a background, in psychological services and took Dean Steinberg's place a number of years ago. And so they're really trying to make the facilities be even better places of, better resources for the youth that are in there for their time there. So a lot of good things like that. All right, I'm gonna shift gears to SPEP, Standardized Program Evaluation Protocol. I want y'all to know just kind of what it is, and those who are gonna do monitoring with the programs in January and sometimes early February, that is when you'll encounter it the most. It is one outcome measure that programs use, and it's built into the NCLI's program. So when Louis is entering youth for either the prevention program or the original skill building program, when he's entering the clients in there and then he terminates them, and same with the tour, when she's entering them, I know she's learning NCLI in that process. And as they're doing that, when they terminate those youth, the Standardized Program Evaluation Protocol is able to look at all the data that they've entered to see the dosage and duration that each youth has participated in, how long they've participated in the program, how many weeks, how many hours. It also looks at their risk levels, and it takes all of that information and pulls together what's called a SPEP score, Standardized Program Evaluation Protocol. This first 2-page handout is everything as like a short intro to SPEP. I just gave it to you as a resource to kind of look through. And what it does is it gives outcomes based on the program's specific program type. So if the Earn and Learn program, if Karen's looking at their SPEP score for Earn and Learn, she can look at that, and it's based on the best outcomes for reducing recidivism, for not having kids reoffend, for restitution community service program. So it's not looking at mediation or a skill building, it's looking specifically at restitution community service. And what Dr. Lipsey did when he worked on SPEP, he and others, they looked over 20 years of juvenile justice research to see what are the program elements for each type of program that had the best outcomes for reducing recidivism for that program type. And so it aligns what each program has had their youth complete during that 1 year cycle with those outcomes for that program type. So it's a bit technical. The thing that's cool in North Carolina is we actually have it built into our program. Other states use SPEP, but they don't have it built into NCLI. So it's kind of a neat tool. It is program specific. It's one outcome. And I want to stress to you all that not every program is the best fit for the specifics of that. And so sometimes there are small variations that do affect the SPEP scores. But on the purple sheet of paper, I'd just like to report out to you all from the past year kind of what the SPEP scores for Buncombe look like. And so you can just kind of see a quick snapshot of that. And these sheets here will help you understand that a little bit more. For programs, they need to know a lot more about it. For all of you, you just need to know enough to know that when you are doing monitoring, you know what you're looking at and like what it is. So there are a couple different things. You've got years of scores here on the purple sheet of paper across from the program report on the back side. And you can see the first part, it's got each year that the program had a SPEP score. You'll notice some have advisory scores, like the Connection. I think last year they didn't have any terminations in that 1 year period, and so they didn't have a score. But you have to have 10 youth to have a score. And then some programs like Teen Court and Mediation don't actually have a SPEP type. They're what we call not SPEPable. Mediation was at one point, but Dr. Lipsey decided to change that a few years ago. I think it was in 2016, I think it was. He changed that so that it doesn't have a SPEP score, it uses other measures, but it still has a quality of service. The column here that has the numbers for a quality of service score, every program has a quality of service and they get a new quality of service score every 3 years when they go through an extensive consultant monitoring process. Atora can tell you that we spent a full day together, and she and Carol McManus, a retired chief court counselor who's working with us, we monitored the Juvenile and Emoji program, and Atora on her, like, I think it was your first day or your first meeting? She got a big lesson on, and she takes an NCLI, and Carol did a good job coaching and going through what to look at for client files. So for that monitoring process, the quality of service score is out of 20 points, and it looks at 5 elements. That's basically an organizational development. The research behind that is you have to have a good, you have to have a product of a program that's delivered well and that has things like staff training, consistent employees, no staff turnover, good training, good outcome measures for how are we doing and self-corrective action. That's what the quality of service looks like. It's out of 20 points, and every 3 years you get a new score. So you can see different programs are on different parts of the scale where some are working at it or some have had changes, but maybe in staff or in the way they've done things and are working to build their score back up. And then there's a basic SPEP score, and then there's a POP score. So that last score over is sort of the equalized score that all programs get because it adjusts for the program type. And I will tell you that anything over 50 in the research, anything, a score, it's not like in school where you have to have an 80 or a 70 to pass. Anything over 50 has shown positive outcomes. So 50 or above is what you're looking for positive outcomes. And of course, the higher the score, the better the outcomes, if it's a good match for that spectrum. That's stuff in a nutshell, and I'm gonna stop there because I know that we'll go over.
Thank you, Lorraine. I know that we are right now 5 minutes over, so if you have any questions or concerns about what has been passed out regarding the PEP or the SPEP program or protocol evaluation form that we have, please feel free to reach out to Lorraine or to myself or Hannah. We can see at least providing a little bit more information or to try to answer your questions regarding the SPEP. As we move on to our next thing on the agenda, right before we come to adjournment, is public comments and announcements. So if there's any of the programs that we have here, anything that's happening this month, this week, anything coming up, now is time to be able to kind of showcase what's going on so we can have people in attendance for those things. So any of our programs got anything on the horizon? Hey, Deja, you still on?
Yes, I am.
Oh, there's a hand raised.
I just have a quick announcement, if that's okay.
Yep.
So the Access and Human Affairs Office for Buncombe County is holding a youth opioid event on October 25th from 11 to 3. And it's basically an event that raises awareness about drug use and overdose. There's gonna be guest speakers, free food, swag bags, parents and kids are welcome. And I can send out the flyer to you guys in our email list. But I just wanted to make that known that it's gonna be a really cool event. And I already know of some people that are coming. And I thought this would be a great place to share that.
Thank you, Deja.
Thank you, Deja.
I'm saying this
It was one of about 20 attachments you got from me yesterday. So Deja, if you want to send it out on its own, or that you're welcome to, and I'm happy to also highlight it more.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I got it yesterday, and I already got a couple families that said they're going.
Great.
Send it out. So whenever I get something, I try to send it out with anybody. So.
And I think our core counselors are bringing some of their own clientele and families and our staff as well.
I have an announcement for Kids at Work. We're doing a fundraiser where we're making like several different holiday desserts, so pies and cakes, and they'll be available for pre-order. And this will be like right before Thanksgiving. So when y'all are thinking about your Thanksgiving meals, if you'd like to have something for Kids at Work that would also help support the program, that's going to be available.
Where do we find that? On the website?
I will send information.
Great.
Thank you.
Pumpkin pie.
Yes.
And I know birthday girls, I'm in a hurry. Just to answer, because I was caught off guard and went first, I'll use that as my plug. Grover, to answer your middle school question for direct referrals, and since Shannon's on here, I just want to give a plug out to Dr. Jackson, Dr. Furman, Kim Robinson, and Shannon Martin, and Chief Clement. Thanks to the hard work, our MOUs, our MOAs, LOL, OMG are all signed.
Right.
And so for prevention, intervention, diversion, short-term, long-term probation, and our alternative to OSS, I'm gonna take a breath. We have North Buncombe Middle, North Buncombe High, Cane Creek Middle, AC Reynolds, Asheville Middle, and Asheville High, Irwin, and Inca. So if any of those spark an interest, we have MOUs and all the things I listed, and we do use the DJJ Universal Referral Form. The other is in regards to the SPEP and PEP. In Lipsy Howe, in their studies, when you said 20 years, I giggled because I think I've been here when they started that. So one of the things is when we score low on our QoS, for those of you who are new to this, is staff training, quality retention, and stuff like that. So one of the things we looked at, because we were in a 3-year monitoring and scored super low on that, is to put our emphasis back in training. And since Helene and referrals have been low,
one of the things we did was look at higher levels of care because we are getting community referrals, as you just heard. So one of the things that we looked at as a staff was reaching out because we don't have those juvenile justice treatment continuing wraparound staff trainings like Pivot does to keep up their credentials. We participated in Mental Health Heroes, and that was put on by MUSC and community programs in South Carolina. We are now doing, and this is something our staff shows, it's Projecting Positive Vibes, and this is going to be held in Atlanta, and it's during the 7th annual Black History Month. And it's a mental health conference that's going to continue our training. It's changing the narrative on community services and mental health and what that looks like in our youth, not just in public schools, but around the entirety. So it's to transform, inspire, and educate a greater understanding in all areas of mental health and culture, and that's staff, board, all the way down to the student, and what that looks like. So I just wanted to put that plug out there that a lot of the grants we're getting to support this and collaborate with what you have granted us is because of the Shannon Martins and the Chief Clements and the letters of recommendation and the work that we all do together. So just keep an eye out for that because we are going to fund those as we go along throughout this year. So that was it. See, that was supposed to be my ending for the last part. I had to say that.
Appreciate that. Good follow-up.
Okay.
Again, my apologies as we are a little bit over. Any other program updates, anything like that? We can also, if we get that kind of stuff on a rolling basis throughout the day or throughout the week, we can also just let y'all know throughout email anything that's coming up. So if something does come up through JCPC regarding any of the announcements and stuff, just please make sure you don't delete those. Okay, and just take a look at those. Those might be something that you'd like to attend. That being said, again, it's 10:11. I think there's somebody else coming up in here shortly after us, so we can't stay too long after that. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Shannon. All right, all y'all, have a wonderful day.
Have a great